Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Deep Def episode 11 here where we dive into the deep end of life. We have a lot to talk about today. Not only just the youth generation, but plenty of NFL football, a little bit of NBA. Today's special guest, one of my few mentors from back in the day in high school, Mr.Key. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the pod.
What's going on, man?
How's it going?
Everything's going good. Day's going good. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's going to be a great episode. We have a lot to talk about, especially, with our Bears and, the NFL circle. But to start it off, I definitely want to talk about, modern day youth and kind of like, one of the final questions that will segue into the NFL. But the first one, how do you think modern day technology has influenced the way the young generation communicate, interact with each other, and even to some extent, like the generation before us with like adults nowadays?
Well, working in the inner city right now as a teacher for CPS, I feel like the technology wave for the children now, that's their basis of communication. They go through everything, not even verbatimly speaking with you, verbally. Using those things to express how they feel and all of that, and they want to divert to technology. Now, technology is a great thing. Don't get me wrong. I feel like the past generation, they have to catch up. And they've been catching up because if you don't keep up with the times, you're going to fall back.
Right.
So everybody is a part of technology. Everybody uses it. It's our daily life. Like with the kids I work with now, the middle schoolers, I know one of their main things, even with the high schoolers I worked with before, is social media. So the phones, and they know how to work this and how to put this apart, how to do that together. It's a gift, because it has generated a lot of new things, but it also can be a curse. And sometimes kids lean on that as a crutch. And, they don't want to give that technology up. And I know the older generation, the people that I grew up with, for instance, my grandmother, who's 89 right now, she was born in the Great Depression.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's turning 90 in September, but she tells me things about how, my great-grandfather was a sharecropper. So they grew up in Mississippi and how they had to communicate with each other. And they went outside to play games. And eventually they moved up to Chicago. But even with those times, she lived through the 40s. She lived through the 50s. And she's here today in 2024. And she always tells me, I thought I'd never see the day when we use a telephone and I can see your face on it. So that's one of those things, man. It's like, That's some real historical stuff, So technology has been a good gift because even through COVID, you couldn't go see everybody.
No, you were stuck.
And that was a tough time, but we made it through.
Yeah.
Technology has its perks.
Absolutely. No, I agree with everything you said, and I think that's amazing. Bless your great grandma. That's awesome. That's awesome because it's like my grandma. She's like in her 70s, 80s now, and like she told me about she grew up in freaking communism. So like, she tells me all the time, like, oh my God, it's crazy how like I can see your face on the phone, how I can read your messages now. It actually shows that it's red and stuff. I'm like, no, it is crazy, and I do agree it has its perks for sure. Like you said, helped us through COVID. It definitely helps with education in a lot of ways. The online teaching during COVID definitely went long ways.
Yes.
And now they're starting to develop that more into education. But I do think there are some downsides. Like, for example, like sometimes like certain individuals, not most, but certain, just are glued to their phones, glued to the video game screen. It's just sometimes to crack through them, like it's very hard to crack through them. Like you'll probably like, I used to be one of those students in class. Like sometimes like my teacher's just babbling on about some like some stupid math shit that's just not going to benefit me in the future, right?
Yeah.
And algebraic equations, that's just not going to benefit me. So I'm just over here glued to my phone, like, oh, let me look at this recent and on Instagram. And then she's like, oh, why are you on your phone? Just put it away. I'm like, oh, give me a second. And then like the second goes on for another 5 seconds as we're trying to finish like a text message to someone. So yeah, there's definitely perks to it. There's also downsides. Even like when you're out with people, like I used to be like one of those, like sometimes we'd be out to dine in with the guys or maybe even a lady, and I know for a fact if I'm glued to my phone, like someone's gonna say something. So now I'm one of those people, hey, put your phone in the middle of the table. Let's actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
I want to see, oh, give me a sec. No, I'll put that shit down. Like we gotta like talk, eye contact, like old school,
Yeah, it's definitely something. Even with my girlfriend right now, we'll go out to eat. Sometimes something. I'm a sports guy, so I got to get away for a little bit after the days I've had. And sometimes I'm she'll say, hey, you might want to put the phone away. And I got my 1-year-old daughter now, so like she's walking and getting into everything. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put this down because if I'm not paying attention, this child is gonna get into something. So you mentioned something that's very, very key, man. So it's one of those things. Like I remember just last year, some kids I worked with, you tell them to put their phone away or they had a phone tree, so it's like number system. Those kids shriveled up like it was, they couldn't hold themselves. And I'm like,
oh my God.
It is not that important. Put it on do not disturb. Like you're here to learn. Like when I was in school, and this is telling my age a little bit, but we had textbooks. Yeah. So, you had to open it up, read. Now you got the technology coming out now.
E-books.
You can e-book it, you can Google. That's what a lot of kids do now. They Google, oh, what's the research to this? What's that? So I'm like, man, if you only knew, like, everything we had to do in certain parts in school, like it started to change right around 2012, 2013, how you had to work those things. But even now it's like, okay, you guys got to learn to pick up a book, read.
Pick up a book, yeah.
But it is what it is.
I grew up. I eventually got into a book. I think what it is like kids struggle to like read books in school. Maybe because sometimes it's certain depends on the teacher's way of teaching. They'll just give out some random book. Oh, read read this, and then to him it's not as appealing. But for me, what's weird was like as I got older, when I entered college, I went to the library by myself, and like got books myself. Oh my God, like it's fun to read. Yeah. Like, I didn't realize how fun it was to read. Like back in the day, like how you said, like in middle school, I experienced those big fat ass textbooks too. Like it's just like a science textbook. I had like 300 pages. I'm like, damn, like 300 pages. Like you got grab that big ass bookmark when you go to Scholastic Book Fair. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, with the reading and stuff. For me, I developed that later on in college. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily develop it in high school or middle school. It was more so later on, like.
High school, you're trying to find yourself. You're just trying to survive. That's all. Yeah. You get older. You should have wisdom as you get older. Sometimes it don't carry over, but you got certain people, like as time goes, you have to, eventually you're going to learn something,
Absolutely. And progressing on, what role do you think education plays currently now in shaping the lives for younger people? And what changes would you want in your personal opinion with public, school education system? Do you think there could be some changes to improve overall, or what do you think could help public education?
You know what? Coming from the west side of Chicago, where I grew up, and I had 2 parents that worked in education. Then let's just give a little background. Not just my parents, but I had an aunt that worked, had 2 great aunts that worked in education, and my grandmother worked in education. So for me, knowledge literally is power. Without having the proper things that you need to know in life, just to function, you have to be able to not only add, subtract, but you got to know how to read and do everything like that. Even to the point, my grandmother, her husband, when I was 2 or 3, he would always sit me with him and I would read the paper. My mother didn't believe it until she saw it, but even then it was always a key focus. And this guy only had a 3rd grade education and he wanted better for his family. So you look at education now, I've looked at it somewhat, it's more about what we can gain. And it's a monetary thing. And if it's not benefiting the kids on those lower impoverished areas, man, then what is it really doing? Like I've seen it working from on the west side to working on the north side. That influx of money and what they give to those kids is so different. So it's not evenly distributed. And even then still, this kids, you can be successful. It ain't gonna stop anything. I just know for me, growing up in the household I grew up in, my parents were determined to get me and my older brother through school and do what we need to do. Like at the minimum, at least you're going to get through high school. So I can say safely, both me and my brother are college educated kids, and it was pretty cool, man. I felt like it was pressure. So like people always said to me, you're going to be just like your dad. You're going to be like your mom. I am not my dad. We have the same name, but I am not going to be like him. But hindsight now, looking at that, I'm teaching. So I don't know if being an assistant principal is the next thing, but I'm gonna stay in the teaching realm, but what I would want to see happen is for education is it's not just kids they tune out learning. You have your basis of science, social studies, math, reading, those basic things. Get these kids learning more about how taxes are done, how they can do. There's a lack in just working with your hands. I don't see too many carpenters as much as I used to. Even like if I didn't go and play in college or anything like that, I always tell kids one of the best things you could probably be is an engineer. And I have a buddy right now, my dad's best friend, who's an engineer. And, that is a livelihood where you can do things. You can fix things around your house. You don't have to pay anybody. So just having those basic things, they've gotten away so much. I feel like with this city in particular, they've gotten away with helping kids getting involved into things. And, sports is an outlet. It's one of those things that everybody you would think loves to do, being active, being more engaged, but they've gotten away from it so much now that it's like we said before, the technology, kids want to lean on that, so I would want it to be where everybody has a fair chance. Everybody has no matter the demographics, we could all achieve and grow and go we need to do, you know what I mean? So sometimes even in certain schools, certain people hold kids back, man. Like it's not fair. Like if I would have known you would be doing this, I knew you would do something. And I remember I told you that when you was younger, like you're going to do something. I don't care what it is, but you're going to be successful at it. You got some people who tear down kids because they don't want them to be successful. That's not right at all. It's not. I've never been one to do that. I always told them, look, there's a right and a wrong choice for everything. At least come in, get your education. You can do something with that. So it's so much that could be done around here where kids don't even go outside no more. I don't even see kids outside. Like
outdoor ballparks, it's not non-existent anymore.
None of that. Like I was always a chubby kid, but I was always active. So I always had accessibility to things that I wanted to do. If I just told my mom and dad, hey, I want to do this, they let me do it. Even then, going outside in front of your house I grew up in, I was outside with my friends. We was playing ball, we was playing football. We was doing everything we needed to do. But now I don't even really see kids riding bikes like that. I don't see them. I live across the street from a park right now. And every time I look up, there's more people that's around my age bracket or a little bit older who are more outside than kids who are at 12, 13, 14 because they're so glued to being inside the home. So then also sometimes you got to talk to these kids too and see what it is that they want to become and what
actually
they want
talk
to be.
to them, yeah.
And sit down and talk with them. Like I credit myself at least once a week, twice a week where I got these 7th graders and they can strike a nerve a little bit, but when I sit and I talk to them, I say, hey, what do you want to be? Kid told me he just want to make money to travel. So he wants to do construction. I said, that's no problem with that. Another kid, she wants to be a doctor. Okay, go for it. Like I'm not going to stop you because I feel like in my lifetime, nobody ever told me like, no, you can't do that. But there were people who did it. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I'm not listening to you. Like whatever. So, Brandon Johnson right now as the mayor has a lot that he needs to figure out, being a former teacher, working for CTU. Yeah. And I hope that if this message was to ever get across to him where he can figure out a way that he can build those things up. It's even when it comes to those inner cities. Like I'm from the Austin neighborhood, like I said earlier, Ohio, Lawler. There are really no activities too much that kids can do. You got kids that want to play basketball and they got AAU programs, but those AAU programs are so far away that they don't have anything to get to it. Yeah. And then the parents don't have the money to pay for it. So you got to figure out something that's going to bring it all together because these kids want to actually do something and the parents want to get them involved, but it's a lot of things that need to happen first where it needs to be evenly distributed.
I 1 billion% agree, especially with the resources part. I definitely want to tackle that part first. I definitely, because like I played a little bit of basketball, like for practicing and stuff, like on the west side and stuff, and I had so much fun out there. I love the trainers out there. People were super awesome, super friendly, and there's some great like kids over there, like great talented people, like very very smart people out there. And I just think like having resources for everyone just helps everyone go long ways. And not even just that, like how you mentioned, teaching a little bit more about life, like taxes and stuff. Like I didn't really learn too much about that, like in high school and even someone in early college. It was more so like, okay, well, today's assignment, get this done. Here's the due date. Very rarely I had like a professor like teach me anything. Like when I did my first tax return, my parents were like, do you know how to do a tax return? I'm like, I have no fucking clue. Like I need you to be there with me. I need you to break it down for you. Oh, do you know how to open a credit card? I'm like, no, like I don't. Like absolutely not. And credit score, no, I didn't learn any of that. So just learning a little bit more on life, I think having more of like classes like that, like just credible like street knowledge, credible, life knowledge just goes super like long ways. And even now, what I think, to add on to your point, I think what would be also is now like this trend of like people like wanting to become social media influencers so they can make money off that. I think it'd be cool to have a program like, hey, here's how you can monetize your content if you want to be, a streamer, like some sort of like program for like, hey, if you guys are interested, maybe being like, I don't know, a TikToker or a YouTuber, here's how you can make money off that. I think that also could help kids, especially those ones that are not super active outdoor. Maybe that could give them a lane into something, even with video game streaming and live Twitch streaming. So I agree with that. Definitely resources have to be spread out. And I do agree with the mayor part. I think, he has a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Because the previous mayor, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that.
I'll tell you this, though. This is just my belief.
Yeah.
A lot of things fell on Lori, just everybody has their own opinion, but I look at it like this. Even then, you were probably young to remember this, but I remember when Mayor Daley was in office, there were things that were happening around there. After Mayor Daley left, there was Rahm Emanuel, who got the endorsement from Obama. That's when Obama first got in office, and he wasn't from here. So as he came here, a lot of the schools that were open in those smaller neighborhoods, especially like the one where I grew up at, the one school that I went to, he closed down 50 schools. So that's very limited resources and everything else that's like, okay, how are these kids going to be in these schools? Now you interfering with kids having to probably cross through and see somebody that they might be into it with. That's crossfire. That's how I look at it. That's how I think. Like, I'm not finna do that to myself or get me in trouble. So it was a lot of things that were shut down. It was a lot of, then, the influx of charter schools. And
yeah.
I don't have nothing bad to say about charter schools. Wherever you choose to go to school is where you go. But then also, too, like with the parents, everybody, like not everybody, but there's quite a few that are looking for handouts. You know what I mean?
With that.
And like I tell my parents now, the kids I coach with this basketball team, I said, hey, you have to be the one that be active. You have to go out and do some research on your own. Like, I know some things fall on me, but like, hey, this is what's going on, or that's what's going on. Because if you want your kid to be successful and you want them to be better than what you did in high school, sometimes you got to go take that risk and just go out. And, it may be a 15, 20-minute drive from the house, or maybe a little bit up north, but just get them in those areas. Like, I went to St. Pat's for high school. And, people ask me now, like, why did you go there? Like, why didn't you just go here? And the reason why I did that was when I was younger, my dad and my mom used to take me to the basketball camp. He's good friends with head basketball coach, everything like that. But it got me a chance to see a different area. Like, okay, this is an environment I could learn in. This really fits me. If I didn't go there, I probably would have went to Lane Tech. I know, man. Like, my uncle and my dad's, like my dad and my uncles, they all graduated from there. Like,
right.
Lane is Lane. I get tired of hearing about it. But what it did for me was, okay, it may not be the resources that I needed in this area, and this is what I'm going to do. So, like, when I was in high school, there was a coach that I had, Coach Reardon. He's now the AD there. He taught a class on, like, financial literacy, and it talked about taxes. So you learn about how this number works and 7% on a dollar and everything of that nature like that. I did pass the class. I can't tell my mom that now. Like, I passed, don't worry about it. But it taught me all those things that I didn't know. So, like, when I had questions, I would go and ask my mom and my dad, like, hey, what does this mean? Hey, what does that mean? Why do you have this? What does this income tax mean? Or why do you pay property tax on the house? Why did you have to do these things like that? And, my parents would sit me down and say, okay, this is what this and that means. So being 15, 16, I always knew I was a little different, especially with growing up how I grew up. So I couldn't go out and get in much trouble. I still got in trouble, but I didn't do everything that was like adventurous and stuff. Yeah. So I was I sheltered myself from things. And even now, being almost 33, it's like, okay, I'm going to go here, but I ain't going to be here too long. Like, I'm very cognizant of everything that I do. Like, okay, this is what needs to happen. All right, I'm gone. Like, okay, this is enough. So education is very, very important in my on both sides of my family. Having that last name Key or even Davis, like you got to get your education. So, yeah.
No, right. And I had like similar expectations too from my parents. And I think what's beautiful is like for people like people like that had their parents come from like foreign countries and stuff. Like
absolutely.
Like my dad like just always like would kick my ass if I didn't like have like good like grades on like a progress report card. He didn't go to pick us. It was more so my mom doing that job. Mm-hmm. He would just come home from work and say, "Oh, how's his progress report card? Oh, he didn't do that good." You just hear footsteps coming down the hallway towards the room. I'm like, oh shit. He just lectures me. He's like, "Do how many flights it took me to get here to America?" I'm like, well, here's the 500th time I'm hearing this.
Yes.
But yes. It motivated me because it gave me perspective. Like they didn't really have the same opportunity. Because my parents, they had to go through war. There was like a horrible like genocide going around that time, so they had to come here and like not knowing a lick of English, not knowing a lick of English. Yeah. And then they were like, "Look, you got it so good now. Like, don't complain about anything. Like, people back home still don't even have hourly wages like you do." Mm-hmm. So that gave me perspective. Like, man, like maybe I shouldn't be complaining about too much. Let me just get my education. Let me see what I could do. And like we see this trend now where some people, skip college or go like to real estate school or stuff like that. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's actually pretty dope. I think, college isn't for everyone. But what I did realize was from a few professors that gained their personal experience. Some of them did tell me like about their life stories. And I love when like teachers, professors open up a little bit more instead of just like treating it as a job. Like one of them, I forgot their names, but they're like, to me, I treat this more as a relationship with you guys than a job. Yeah. Because I want to see you guys succeed. And I love that. I'll never forget like, Coach Vitas back in Taft, like he loved me. Like he
got to.
Yeah, he always got my ass. He was from Europe. I remember he showed me like some it was just like one day in driver's ed class, he was showing me like some basketball highlights. It was black and white film. Like Jesus Christ, like how long ago this was. And I just see this guy shooting threes. I'm like, who the fuck is that? He's like, oh, this was me back in the day. I'm like, nah, stop. And I look at him, I'm like, holy shit. And it's so like he started treating as a relationship with us, like not even just basketball, but even outside of life. He'd be like, oh, how's life? Are you working? What are your plans? And I appreciate stuff like that because it hits home because like, you know what? Like some of these teachers like truly care about me because I think, and I want to see more of that also in my day education. Teachers treating it more as like relationships rather than just like, all right, let me get through today's shift. Let me get, my coffee to stay awake, and I get it, as long as it gets tired, kids could definitely be a pain in the ass. I was definitely one of those kids. But, just to like treat like as a good relationship, it definitely means a lot and goes a long ways, as you said. Like, and you mentioned earlier, like, don't listen to someone telling you like, oh, you can't do this. I hate that. Like, it really bothers me. Like, I was one of those kids like, oh, like I want to be a pro basketball player, and like I would hear them like, all right, stop it. That's just not gonna happen. And like that's sort of like demoralizing me. Like shit, like they just tell me I can't do that. Like what's my plan B now? But in a way, it does help in some reality aspects. But at the same time, it's like you don't want to like you don't want to like shit on them. Like, you want to like kind of encourage them like, hey, and that's a great goal, but have a plan B, not just like, all right, that's not happening, figure out something else, next. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like,
I'll even go into this, watching my parents, my mom is still going, it's over 30 plus years. Like they started at 21. So my parents are like 58 now. So that was really, really young at that time. We're talking mid to late 80s. They're still kids. In reality, you think about it, they're still kids helping kids grow and learn. So when my parents started, their first set of kids were like 12, like not that much older than them. So as time grew on, some of the kids knew that my mom was pregnant with me. So both my parents worked together at one point. It's a love story that is too long to talk about, but I'll
that
just
does
say
sound
this.
awesome. Yeah,
but I'll say this: the seeds that they planted in all those children, and it's even seen today. Like I coached my game yesterday with these kids. And somebody said, hey, ain't you Miss Davis, Miss Key's son? I said, yes. I sometimes it's a little annoying because I'll go far north and I'm like, good God Almighty, can I get away from this? Like, come on, man. But I don't be rude about it because what they did, you never know who you're going to run into. And you never know what
small
this person
world.
did. A very small world. So you never know. Like, you don't want to tear those relationships. And my parents was always one, I can talk about it. They're not going to bash me about it. But I've seen them help kids graduate, help kids get through prom. They had certain things going on at home. They would do certain things to help that kid out, get them back on the right track. I remember even one time me and my brother was asleep. Everybody was in the house asleep. We hear a knock on the door. It's one of the female students. And it's like, what are you doing here? But my parents never turned them around. So like the house we lived in, the school that my parents worked at, everybody knew we stayed. And it was like, you got people knocking, ringing the doorbell. But like my parents never were rude to kids, no matter how much it was. That's awesome. So much so, like, I think that's part of why I do what I do, because I watched my dad and my mom do it. Like, they were mother and fathers for kids who didn't have their parents, who didn't have that stability, awesome, even if they had it. So it's one of those things, like, I look at it now, like, I used to hate it. Like, why isn't he doing this? Or why are you doing this for this kid? But as I get older now, it's like, I see why you did it. It's, you know, there's a lot of good that's going to come back to you, man. So, like, for them to do that, and then, like, even with my mom, my dad as educators, my dad, I got a brother and two cousins who can attest to this. If you need help with math, try your best not to go to my dad. You better figure it out. And the guy would sit there with you. And he was a coach too. So like my dad, come on, you got to know what you're doing. Like, yeah. And, you know, I would mess up sometimes and I would go into tears. And he's like, what's wrong with you? I say, you just too hard on me, dude. Like, slow down. I'm going to get it. Just show me. But we eventually got it. And then like my mom, back on that education, like I say, it starts at home. She would take me to Barnes and Nobles. I don't even think they're open anymore.
They got a few.
That or what's the other one? I can't think of it, but it was on, I remember it. It was in Oak Park. Can't remember the name of the store. I'm going to think of it later. Me and my mom would go. She was a reading teacher. She was a social studies teacher. She would take me to the store. We would get books, the Scholastics. Like, I had a bookshelf in my room filled with all of Harry Potter's books and all of those books and everything like that. And even more so, I got pretty decent handwriting. Everybody say, you write really, really well. How'd you learn? Well, my mom, we had a copier in the house. And she's going to laugh if she sees this, but she would make copies of our homework. I know specifically with me. So I would start writing. That's not big enough. Mom, I can see this. Like, why you? No, you're going to erase it and start over. And if it wasn't good enough for her, my mom would tear it up. But that taught me like that discipline and everything like that. And then when it got into the work, you know, she made sure that everything that I needed, my mom did. So did my dad as well. Like, I'm never going to discredit. And I had those teacher figures and I had those coaches too that was like, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that. If you want to get to this level where I'm at, it's going to be hard, but it's a sacrifice in everything that you got to do. So kudos to all the people, especially Doug and Tina Key Sr.
That's beautiful. That's such a beautiful story, and it hit home because, like I said, like I always wanted like more of teachers like that. Thankfully, I had a few that that treated it as more as like a relationship, and I hope like soon like more of like public school teachers could like start like. And I know every teacher has like their own little approach to their job, but I just wish we had a few more that just kind of like thought a little more out the box. Like, hey, you know what? Like maybe I should like talk to this kid a little bit more. And I think that's why like we see like just trend now, which we're gonna kind of segue into this next topic, and then we're gonna get into some pro football. It's just like where we see like nowadays like younger kids, like especially in modern day generation, where we have like kids that just think they already know it all already. Like this chip on their shoulder, like it's like kind of like a pride to them, like they have like this ego to them, and I sort of had that too, and I had like some good reality checks, some good humblings.
It wasn't as you're not as bad as the kids I got now. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Oh yeah,
no.
Oh man, and that's where it leads to next. So why is it nowadays we see this trend of younger folks around like let's say like my age or younger? I'm 22 now. Believe they already know everything and already entitled to certain things. Like for example, we've seen like I hate what happened to Cam Newton's situation.
Yeah.
The 7-on-7 camp, we heard about what happened. And that's not the first time we've seen Cam, like, get disrespected. And there's a guy, and, like, you know, not to go off the rails a little bit, this guy was a former MVP, made it all the way to Super Bowl, did the whole Superman thing. Like, to me, like, he would, like, I know Michael Vick was, like, a good dual threat, but he, like, before Lamar, he was, like a more stronger version of Lamar. He would, like, run down, like, just run you over, like you were nothing to him. And, like, his personality and everything, I'll never forget that one play. Like, I remember I discussed it with Josh, was a Cardinals player, that we were talking about Cam a little bit. I just loved, like, his Mox personality back in the day. Like, Clay Matthews was trying to call out plays, like, oh, you've been doing your film study, ready? And then, like, you know, they got a touchdown right down that play. So I love Cam Newton. And, like, gosh, if I had the opportunity, I would soak in every single second of his knowledge, you know? Like, even if it was, like, some small NFL players. So why is it that we're seeing, like, this trend of, like, younger generation just kind of like, oh, I got this, you know, I already know this. And I think I saw some you shared on Facebook the other day, or it was Instagram, like, kids doing some football drills are not following, like, the fundamentals. Like, I'll never forget, like, one of my old basketball trainers, I had one that was, I had two. One was European, the other one was on the West Side. They were both, like, fundamentals, like dribble over the chairs, tough in that. Now you got kids like, I'm not going to do that. Let me do it behind the back and a stupid jelly, and doesn't even go in. So why is it we're seeing this trend now? Like, why is it?
I believe the biggest part of why the trend is happening is what's happening at home. A lot of things that I've seen, you learn everything from the house. Like, I'm pretty sure you at home, your dad taught you, like, hey, you're going to go to school, you're going to do this and that. By any damn mean will, you know, you're going to do this. And even from me, like, I speak on myself. Like, at one point, I used to work 2 jobs. And I never knew that my dad did it, but he was like, hey, you're going to do what you have to do to take care of your family and do everything of that nature like that. So a lot of things these kids learn come from home. When there's defiance, when there's things of, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, they're only replicating what they see. So it's like a monkey see, monkey do. Like, you know, one person can shoot a 3. Okay, I'm going to shoot a 3 too, just because he made it. No, you might want to take it to the hole. Like, it's going to be better for you to make the layup than shoot a jump shot. You know, also too, I believe with back to the technology point, or it's a social media influence. So a lot of things that these kids learn now, and as a parent now, like I got a 1-year-old, but I know as she gets older, even with my parents couldn't stop everything that me and my older brother did. You can monitor it, but you can't. Kids are going to be kids. They're going to get into stuff. They're going to do some things that are going to get them in trouble. But I think now with these kids, especially how I see it with my 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds that I work with, it's a lot of things that social media is teaching them. Parents don't really create that time to really show them, like, hey, this is the point of respect. Now, I'm not saying all parents don't do it, so don't go judging me or what I say, all right? But you have some parents who let the phones and let the iPads and let all those other things just raise them. And then even the musical influence. Like, I love Lil Durk. I like G Herbo. I like all those guys. Like, what they speak and what their message is, I like it. But when you got these things now where these kids are talking about hoes and don't love no thoughts, or even like Juice WRLD, when you think about that, his impact, he had an impact, but like some of his stuff, if you really listen to the lyrics and everything else of that nature like that, those lyrics interfere with these kids' mind. When anything that, you know, that the ear receives, the heart is going to take they're going to take it and they're going to be like, okay, this is what you have to do. This is what this and that. And, you know, sometimes in those musical influence, they talk about drugs. They talking about having sex with everybody, not using protection, all those things like that. And that can have repercussions that you're not ready for. Right. So it's one of those things, like with the Cam Newton situation, man, it was unfortunate. This is a guy who made millions of dollars, and I wouldn't even want to say volunteering. He wants to give his time give game to these kids and show them, like, hey, I made it out of Atlanta. Y'all can make it out of Atlanta. Now, could he have done a better job holding his temper together? Absolutely. Because this is not just about what you are, but this is about your name. And how you carry your name and how you carry yourself can do a lot of good or a lot of bad. And, you know, he Thank God he did not swing, because I feel like if he would have swung on one of those people,
oh my God,
it was enough. He hemmed them up and he threw the people.
His hat didn't even come off.
Hey, listen, the hat was impeccable. I don't even know how it stayed on, but
that's a big dude.
That's it. Man, we talking 6'6", 250, and the dude stays in shape. And we got people that's running up on him, and it was not just one person, two people. We're talking about a boatload of people coming at him, and it was just really unfortunate because these things don't happen in these areas already. Now, like, speaking on the sense of being black, it's like, damn, we got this happening again in our hood. Like, come on, man. Like, we supposed to be better than that. We're supposed to hold each other up. And I think sometimes our biggest crutch is we pit ourselves against each other. So, with that, these kids now, like, I remember coaching some of my boys, me and my guy Rod, like, hey, you're going to do this basic thing right here. Like, in your defensive stance, you're going to get back. Gonna do this. I'm not doing that. Okay. Game comes along. There's a kid. And sometimes kids are gonna be more advanced in that sport that you're playing in.
Right.
Makes a move, makes a layup. I called the timeout. I said, what did you think? We should have listened to you in practice. I'm like, I just know this a little bit because even then, it's a repetitive thing. Kobe talks about that. LeBron,
rest in peace, yeah.
Those guys. Michael Jordan. If you really think about Michael Jordan, this is why I think he might be the greatest, or he is, aside from LeBron, whoever you want to pick. But like, what made him great was his fundamentals. Those basic things that you need to do. The jab step. How to move. The 1-2 crossover in the front. How to get to the hole. Use your right hand layup. Use your left hand layup. Even to the point you think about one of the greatest football players of all time that doesn't get mentioned is Jerry Rice. And Jerry Rice was, and I looked it up on YouTube. You can look it up yourself. That guy was in such impeccable shape that he could run all day. And nobody, like the other guy that's facing him is like, I can't do this. He had his teammates running with him. They would run this hill. Just like Walter Payton. They run this hill and they would go around and stuff. And he was doing this after the season was over. So you need time for your body to heal and all that. No, he's like, no, I have to stay ready so I won't have to get ready. So a lot of kids now, they're just, it's a point where, hey, my mom and dad say it's okay, I'm going to do it. No, what that could do for you, and I've had a couple students, I used to work at Piccolo, and I love all those kids, but I've had a couple students that have fell on hard times, even one now who just recently been released, and that's my guy. And I want to get in touch with him and let him know, like, hey, man, like, you learned your lesson. I'm not steering you away from, people may push you away from them. Like, dude, it's time to get your life in order, because if you don't, there could be more consequences behind it that you can't come back from. Yeah. And I'm going to get in touch with him. He knows I'm looking for him.
Piccolo's a good school. I used to train a little bit over there, too.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I had Mr. Abello, who's the principal over there, was a great guy. Everybody that was a part of the staff was great. And, there's dangers that kids don't think about that could come. There's people who may not be as forgiving, too. And you got kids now that talk to adults any kind of way. They might even talk to, if they see you and, they don't think there's any repercussions for their actions. And everything you do could have a repercussion, man. So be careful, because, you get your mouth into something you can't get out of, and that's not a good thing.
Everything that you said, it's like, it's so true. And like, to unpack some of the things, like, first off, the music thing, I kind of think of it as like, I forgot to sing, but it's like whatever we eat determines our health, and like whatever we listen to kind of determines like our thought process. That's why, like, I'll also listen to some of those Chicago artists, but not as much as I used to, because like, first off, I'm more of like, and this is crazy, like, I'm more of like, I kind of like old school rap a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there was more poetic, like, thought process behind it. It felt like a story was being told, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Nowadays, you have like a lot of like these artists, like, just like a couple that you named, like, Juice WRLD, like, yeah, there was a couple, fun songs to listen to, but when you actually like break down the lyrics, it's like, oof, like, these aren't like amazing lyrics to like digest for our brain. Same thing with like NBA Youngboy. I can't stand him. Like, I absolutely can't stand him.
Oh my goodness.
Talented, but like some of his lyrics are horrendous to like digest. That's why, that was definitely a great point. Social media and parenting too. Like, and as you said, disclaimer, we're not saying all parents, so don't come at us in the comment section. Don't do it. We'll be reading that shit. So, but a good a good few could definitely, you know, could do a better job. Could definitely be like, hey, you know, and that's why I'm glad, like, my parents, like, you know, being foreign, like, they always got on my ass. Always got on my ass. They're like, my dad was like, look, he's so big on respect. So big on respect. He's like, hey, if they come at you a certain way, like, don't take it as like they're trying to come after you. Maybe there's a reason why they're coming after you. Same thing like in sports, like, you
Definitely.
know, like we've seen like a lot of like young football players, young basketball players, like a coach would like get on them, like, oh, you're not doing this play right. You think you're doing it right, so you'll have to see, go, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. No, there's probably a reason why he's saying that. Maybe you messed up like a little play, like maybe your Euro step wasn't, you know, swift enough. Maybe it wasn't like as natural enough, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe you kind of did it a little too early. So there's always like little things that you could pick out and work on. So you definitely brought up a great few points. And like the Cam Newton thing, like, you know, made millions of dollars. And that's the thing, like some of these athletes could just go into retirement. Like, for example, like Michael, like, he, you know, lives a private life. He's like, all right, I did what I could, you know, I'm living my life. But you got guys like Cam Newton, like, coming out, like, doing these camps out his free time. He could be staying home doing, you know,
Literally.
his podcast, smoke his Cuban cigars, you know, just like.
And all them hats, my God.
All those ads, and they even come off. And like the fact that like he didn't even swing and still basically won the fight. Now that doesn't even matter like who won or lost. But the dude like basically like held on to everybody. Like, I'm like, you guys know who you're charging it after? Like, now it's one thing if you're charging it after like some, like, I don't know, like, let's say if it was Nate Robinson. Nate Robinson would have been screwed. You know, like, all love to Nate Robinson, you know, shorter, you know, like, but Cam Newton is a big dude. Like, how do you even mess with him? Like
Yeah, it's just certain things, man. Like, I'll even bring up this point too. I think a lost thing that I think my grandparents on both sides and my aunts, my uncles, like, I come from a very religious background.
beautiful, yeah.
My Uncle Jeff, Word Works Church, he preaches about, you know, having a stability in God. And he talks about it, and he talks about it a lot. And, you know, a lot of kids now, they don't really truly have faith in anything unless it's about, they want to become something. They have optimism. But when it comes to faith, it ain't too many that's like, okay, this and that. My grandmother, even now, I'll go and visit her every Friday, like clockwork. She always tell you, baby, you need God in your life. And everything you go through and everything that you experience, because out of everything, you may be able to do some things, but, you know, God gonna always have your back. Like, even now, my rubber band that I got on, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, you know, trust in the Lord and lead not on to your own understanding, because, you know, you may fall into your own things, like man falls into their own things, but if you don't have God and you don't have some kind of resemblance and knowing that, hey, you know, this could be we're gonna go through tests, we're gonna go through all that stuff, but without that foundational piece of having God and everything like that, and I know some people, to each his own, all right? That's what it is with that. But I know for me, I have to be at church. I have to hear the word. I have to even read the word on my own in my spare time. Like, think about it. You're given 24 hours in a day. That's 168, you know, hours, whatever the case may be in a week, right? Yeah. Basic math. What do you do in that 168? Some of us, for an hour, we get up every day or whatever the case may be and we work out. You may sleep for 7 or 8, right? Just think about 24 hours. You work out for an hour, you sleep or you go to work for 8. Say you sleep for 6. Then you have that idle time to do what you need to do. At least spend 30 minutes to an hour just getting yourself involved with that word, man, because it's gonna be some things you go through in life that nobody has no answer for. Like, you can go to your mom and your dad, and I'm a testament of this, and they can tell you this. I've been to my mom and my dad in tears, like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And all I had to lean on was my faith, man. Like, it was nothing. Like, I am absolutely nothing without having God. And, you know, we all gonna fall short.
Beautiful, yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're not gonna be perfect. Like, if it was a perfect human, there would be no hell. You know what I mean?
I agree. Oh my goodness.
And it's simple, man. Like, I know for myself, like, you gonna need some God. And I thank my grandparents for that, because they not just showed that piece to their grandkids, but they showed it to the kids too. So it ain't, you know, and if you choose to do what you will as an adult, then it is what it is. But I know for me and what I've been through and where I've came from and where I'm at now, I know that I had to have God on my side. And once you really entail and get into that, man. Like it's a lot of stuff that God's going to get you through.
And that's beautiful. I remember like last episode, like when I had Bradley on, we were talking about like a bit of like faith and having like a bit more like youth, like discovering a bit more religion. Now for me, like I'm Muslim, but like growing up, like I went to like, when I played basketball, I played in a lot of like churches, and like I learned so much from like different faiths. You know, like I had like pastors, you know, like go up to me like, "Oh, Assalamu alaikum, you know, brother in faith," you know, like, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Like everyone, like it doesn't matter what religion, whether you know Christianity, Judaism, you know, if you're a part of the Islamic community, just having faith in general goes such long ways, and like it gives you perspective. Like you know, like everything happens for a reason. You know, like there's a lot of things around us for a reason. You know, like things that we find, you know, like pleasurable, like, you know, liquor or marijuana, you know, there's a reason why, like, everything's around us. There is a reason. So when you take a step back and, like, put into perspective, like, you know what, like, everything is here for a reason, you know. And I always love saying this, saying to everybody, like, if we had a good day every day, we don't learn anything about life. Yeah. There is no true meaning to life. There's no true meaning to happiness. I'd love to have a good day every day. I'm sure everyone would. But, man, sometimes, like, I love having those shitty days because it gives me perspective. Like, you know what? All will be good. God has his plans. And that's all that matters. You know, like, you know, just have faith. And sometimes, like, you know, how you say, you know, whatever you want to go for, go for it. But just having just that itty bitty, like, amount of faith in whatever religion you believe in goes such long ways. And that's why, like, you know, it's beautiful that she shared that message out. And that's why I always encourage my people, like, people, whether I'll have some Christian friends, like, hey, you know, like, how often do you go to church? I'll even say if my Muslim friends or Jewish friends, but hey, how often do you guys go to synagogue or church? Like, oh, not too often. I'm like, man, start going once a week. You know, you don't gotta go like 24/7. Just go on a Sunday. You know, go on a random Wednesday. You know, just check out. You know, like a quick little prayer or something, like whatever event. Like it'll help you. Like, you know, I've learned so much. You know, through like different religions too, to give me like perspective so much on life. And I think we definitely need more of that. So it's beautiful that you shared that message out.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
It's beautiful. Oh my God. And now the fun part.
I've been waiting for this, dude.
NFL football.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do this. So we gotta review the season that just transpired. So what are your shockers of the past season in terms of storyline? So for example, we saw the resurgence of Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. We saw the Detroit Lions coming out of nowhere. But then we saw some disappointing stuff. Now, as a Chicagoan, I know a lot of us like to hear on Aaron Rodgers, but I really wanted to see him in the Jets uniform. Oh, my God. Just to, like, the weapons, the dogs that they got. Oh, my God. Like, I really, really want to see Aaron Rodgers, like, play for the Jets. And to see him get hurt in that opening game, I hate seeing that. You know, it doesn't even matter what player you're against or who your rivals with.
Yeah,
you just want to see legends compete. And we saw other shockers sooner. We saw the Rams struggling a little bit. We saw the Vikings struggling a little bit. So what are your shockers? What are your disappointments from this past season?
Shockers. I'm going to tell you right now, I could never foresee Joe Flacco doing what he did for the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, God.
The guy, Hall of Famer, possibly. You know, it's some of those middle tier guys. Like I put him in the same boat as like Eli Manning. So like those guys that were steady. But I think he, with the resurgence he just had this past year and what he did, he literally just, for what that team went through with all those injuries and how they just overcame. And then this guy sitting on his couch like we are right now, probably having a brew, got the kids climbing everywhere on the couch, and his wife is in the kitchen or she in the bedroom watching House Hunters. And this guy gets off the couch. See what he did to the Bears. That crushed the heart, but then it wasn't that bad because then you look at it like, hey, we were actually close, but it was other teams. He was just dotting them up, you know. I think disappointment this year. Disappointment. Let me see. Probably the Aaron Rodgers, that injury, four plays into the game, and then you tear your Achilles and everything like that. I don't never want to see nobody get hurt, no matter how much I hated him on Green Bay, despise him as a quarterback. But that's a guy I wanted to see how much they flourish.
So many good young talent on that team.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I tell you this though, CJ Stroud, I wouldn't necessarily say a shocker, but I didn't think
be that good.
I know he could be okay because him and Justin, he's a better thrower. Like he can get it spiral, but Justin can throw too. Don't knock me on that. But I didn't see the Texans getting God, no. I thought that the Texans were actually going to be like the Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers would be like the Texans. But then when you look at it's a new season every year. I played college football, was okay. The ones who watch this, they know I was okay. But the seasons are so unpredictable. That's why I love football. Basketball, even with baseball, you can gauge a little bit, you know. But especially basketball, that's why I watch it. But then now, like as I got older, I'm like, I'm really not watching that. It's March now, so it's March Madness.
Oh yeah,
yeah, good times,
yes, sir.
But even Kirk Cousins, like him getting hurt, and then the unfair treatment of Russell Wilson. That was you know, crazy. With the injury clause thing, that was something. Crazy.
I hope he finds a new franchise.
But another one too that kind of caught me off guard. I didn't expect the Chiefs to really struggle like that.
That early on, yeah.
Yeah, that early on, even in that middle tier. But then I put now like Patrick Mahomes is in that realm of Tom Brady, you know, Peyton Manning, those guys like that I watched, and I'm like, you know, I don't care what it is, just don't count them out. Like don't do it because
it's that DNA. Yeah.
Then you know, I feel like the one team that could have gave them a run for their money if this guy didn't get hurt was the Cincinnati Bengals.
Joe Burrow,
Joe Shiesty, my guy. You know, if he didn't get hurt, remember they were on the verge of the playoffs.
They got some weapons on that.
They got some dogs. I don't know why they even trying to entertain getting rid of T. Higgins. Like, no, don't do that. Like that helps Jamar Chase. I feel like if anything, they probably need another tight end. You got Hurst, but you need another guy. And you might need they even got a good slot receiver. I can't think of his name, but I know he's number 3, 1, 3, and 5. Because you know you got Chase, Burrow. Where's
was it Boyd?
Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd is underrated too. So you even look at
Mixon running the ball. I got Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon. Even if you look at now, you know who could have been on that team and helped them run the ball too? Zeke Elliott. I thought he was going to go there.
Yeah.
You know, him being a backup to Mixon, that wouldn't have mattered to me. And even your Cowboys, you know,
shocker. Yeah. Well, it's not a shocker.
When you think about the team they played, they got the wrong end of the stick. And, you know, I know this is something that's close to your heart, but that game, Jordan Love had been on fire before then. And, you know, he beat the Bears before that. You know, they beat the Vikings. So he was on a tear. He beat himself in that last game against San Francisco. Like I wasn't too like when the Chiefs got in the playoffs and they beat Miami. I feel like a team that gets hyped, but they remind me of the Cowboys, but they've been fizzling out. The Miami Dolphins. They got dogs. They got Tyreek. You got Tua. You got a decent O-line, everything like that. But then they had injuries too. And they kind of fizzled out towards the end, and you going into minus 30-degree weather go play Kansas City. That's not going to be any good.
Horrible disadvantage, yeah.
Very much so. But, yeah, and then like the Eagles, they had their little things going on where they started off hot and then, you know, things happen. I think if Jalen Hurts wouldn't have got hurt, we probably could have seen a rematch.
I would love to see a rematch.
Probably could have seen one, but then, you know, I played on a sprain MCL on my knee. And I played D-line. So, like, for me, going forward was a thing. But, like, you going laterally and you got to move, that could be an adjustment, especially when you're wearing a brace. You're not used to wearing it. So, I think it kind of hindered him. They still had some pieces and everything like that, and he played through everything. But they kind of fizzled out, too. And I hope Kelsey don't retire. I want to see him play at least one more year.
Yeah, man.
But I wouldn't be shocked if he did, but I would love to see him give it one more go around.
One more go, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, those are some good ones. For me, I would say a couple of my shockers. The Baker one really stood out to me because he got like damn near like crucified. Like after the Browns, like they were tearing his ass up on ESPN. He ended up as a backup in LA. And then to get that little like, deal on Tampa, like to him, he knew like, damn, this is my last and only shot. And the thing about the Buccaneers is they got there are some good weapons. Now, no knock against Baker, but if you put like a high-level quarterback on that team, you got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin, you got some runners on that team. And I'm like, yo, like there's a solid team. And the defense is good too. So I think Baker, did a good job. He did what he could. I would say another shocker, obviously, the Lions was an amazing story. Just for them to come out of our division, make that far, I was rooting for them. Michigan, I was rooting for Detroit. So I really want to see them good. And they're just going to get better and better from learning from that experience, from going on that deep run. Disappointment, I was really disappointed with the Dolphins because, you have all those weapons and people kind of get on me for this. I was never like, I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. I'm just still not like sold on Tua yet. I'm just not
Cam
sold.
Newton with the game manager stuff? Is that that's the sense I'm getting right now?
I don't know. I'm just not too big on Tua. Like I think Tua's a good quarterback, but I just think the hype he received, I don't think he's lived up to it. I don't agree with his Brock Purdy comments. I like Brock Purdy a lot. I think Brock Purdy got some unnecessary hate for whatever reason. Because it's like, you're supposed to have good weapons around you. And I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. He's going to bounce back strong. He's definitely better than Jimmy G. That's nothing against Jimmy G. He's 100% better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, I'll say this. You put anybody that's remotely decent, like a Brock Purdy, or let's use Justin, all right? Put Justin in that San Francisco team. They should have drafted him instead of drafting Trey Lance, but that's my opinion. When Justin was coming out, him and, what's the kid? Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Everybody knew Trevor was going to go first.
Oh, my God, yeah.
But then you had Zach Wilson go second to the Jets. Jets could have had Justin Fields too. Could have. But I think he would have had some of those same – he would have had the receivers, but the O-line portion. If San Francisco – and I said it too – I remember going on Facebook and I said, yo, if it's any player the Bears got to get in that draft that's coming out, I would love to see them get Justin Fields. And I was telling my friends that it was like, man, he ain't coming here. And they traded up and they got him. I was like, now, the hand he was dealt, terrible. But – if he would have went to San Francisco, and I wholeheartedly believe this, if he would have went and he learned under
Shanahan, the offense, yeah,
and that offense, and you talking about Debo, Kittle, Ayuk,
oh my God,
Jennings,
how did he not win?
And then later on they had running backs too, but then you get Christian McCaffrey.
Oh my God, dog.
I don't even think Justin would be the runner that he is today. I don't think he would have. He would have did some, but I don't think he would have got that.
McCaffrey would do the dirty work, yeah.
Exactly. So he would have did some, but it would have been an advantage. And you just have him sit back and learn under Jimmy G. That only makes you better. So it's all about the circumstances and where you end up and where you go. Even with Tua isn't a bad quarterback. I think it's more so these guys need protection. Now they say, he needs all of this and that to make him good. Yes, you're going to need players. That's God-given, think about it. Joe Montana played for the 49ers. Troy Aikman played for the Cowboys. They had every single piece that was needed to make them successful, and they're in the Hall of Fame. I think about the probably the best one that played quarterback to me, and he didn't win a chip, was Dan Marino. Dan Marino, he had guys too, but not like the stuff that those other guys had. You put Jerry Rice or Michael Irvin with Dan Marino, that probably would have changed his fortunes, So sometimes it's the hand you dealt. Sometimes guys are just anomalies, and even like Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson gets a bad rap about not being able to do those things like that. The game plan when they played the Chiefs was just terrible. I don't know what the hell the offensive coordinator was thinking about, but they should have kept those same things. Even when I look at the Bears and I look at Justin, when he played that Atlanta game, I'm like, that's how you have to use him. That's the forte and that's the format that he should have been used. Even with that Washington game, when they played Denver, that's the format to use him. Get him out in space, get him going. You got to use the strength of those guys, and then improve the the weaknesses that they have so that they can get better. And hey, that's how I look at it. Even with Brock Purdy. He's a guy where he has all of those pieces. If you look at it team for team, and I'm not just saying this, the 49ers really should have won that game.
Oh, 100%.
1,000%. Because the difference was just the quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, he was in that similar situation where the team was better when they played the Buccaneers.
Yeah, he wanted a place to go, yeah.
Yeah, you know, people think about that, but like I look at the defenses and everything else and all those things like that, and it's like, dude, Pat just, it was, and I say this, like with certain guys, you want to get that lead so that they don't have a chance to win at all. Like if they were up 10 or even 14, they probably could have won that game, but you're keeping it so close. Like, okay, just keep it close. And all Pat says, you keep it close, we're gonna win the game. They kicked the field goal, and they didn't. I don't even know how they didn't know the rules, but you know, he went down. He did what he did. Excuse me. He went down. He did what he did, and Patrick Mahomes, man, he's a different type of.
He's
dude.
in his own category. Like I said with my friends, like my buddies, he's not even like in top 3. He's just in his own category of like, yeah, like just I'm that guy. I'm the best right now. Like, yeah, you could do a top 3. Patrick Mahomes #1, but he's just so good. Like you can't even have a top 3. Like because there's so many other good young quarterbacks. Like not probably maybe close to him, but just not quite. Like it's just like, and that's what I was gonna get into next. The Chiefs are now one more chip away from a 3-peat. Super early prediction. Who could stop them? Who could stop them?
Who could stop them?
I have a few in mind.
Okay, if I'm the one team that could have stopped them, they didn't. That was Buffalo.
Oh my God,
Buffalo,
I love Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen. He's another one that's like really, really good, and he got the pieces around him. They should have like they really should have won the game, but what really happens is the coaching. People don't really take into facts of how the coaching works. And if you can have the best players, we seen it, I don't know if you saw it, but I remember seeing it when I was younger. The Lakers were the better team with Kobe, and they had Shaq, and they had Karl Malone, all those guys. But the Pistons had just a better coaching and a better defense. Even when you think about even when LeBron, when he won in 2016, the Warriors were a better team. But
Coach Ty Lue.
Yeah, I might get ridiculed for this, but I think Steve Kerr is a bit overrated. But
I agree. No, I agree.
Yeah, that's to each his own. And he got the guys, like he won with Mark Jackson's guys. So you look at the coaching, like it's just situations, and you got to be, awareness and downs and everything like that. And Andy Reid has been through that. Remember, he was with the Eagles for all those years, and they kept falling short, and they kept falling short. Even before that, he coached Brett Favre, so he won a championship with him as his quarterback, offense coordinator coach, and he did what he had to do there. And then it's like so many years and so many things. Like eventually, we're gonna get to that level. We're gonna win. I think the biggest kryptonite is really themselves, organization. They have to get some wide receivers. They got to get some guys. I don't think if they could get a free agent, the one guy I really want my Bears to get is Gabe Davis.
They're probably going to get him. Yeah.
Right. And, it's all about this. I'm like, hey, if I was Gabe Davis, it's like, hey, I got a deal from the Bears and I got a 1-year deal to play with the Chiefs. I'm probably going to take that 1-year deal with the Chiefs. It all depends on who's vying for them, but I think they're going to make their assets more available through the draft. The only team I can see really getting in their way who could really mess with them is Cincinnati. We've seen what happened with Baltimore. So it's like Baltimore got to get some things, and they got to run the ball a little bit better.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, the one team that I think is going to not really shock a lot of people, but they're going to be better, the Chargers. Mm-hmm. Then we go over to the NFC. The team that should have beat them, like the 49ers.
They're going to be back, yeah.
They're going to be back, but I hope they be back because, and what really makes like those other guys like Purdy, you think about it, like C.J. Stroud and all of them, they have a dominant left tackle. Dominant left tackle who they don't have to worry about nobody not blocking for them, all that stuff like that. Mahomes, those two guys, Donovan Smith is older. Then you got the young fella on the right side that came from Jacksonville, Jawan Taylor. Those guys weren't absolutely the best, but they did enough to hold up their job. And he did enough where he could improvise and do those things like that. That's where those comparisons of Caleb Williams come from. and then it's like the interior, the guards and the center. Those things that like are vital. And if you don't have the inside right, it's going to be a long day.
Those are some good picks. I actually have another team to throw in there. It was a pretty close game. They actually beat the Chiefs during the regular season. I think if he had came sooner, pay attention to the Las Vegas Raiders. Coach Antonio Pierce, he got something building over there.
Oh, yeah.
The way they play for him, the way they vouch for him, and how Max Crosby, he literally said, if you guys don't rehire him, I want to get traded out of here.
Yeah.
They will run brick walls through that team. And Antonio Pierce was on a podcast. He talked about the Michael Jordan rules. There's a little Patrick Mahomes rule going on over there. So I'm not saying they could beat them, but a team that could of all the teams I saw in the regular season that slowed Patrick down, not necessarily shut him down, but slowed him down, was the Raiders. They were getting in his face. Yeah. They were like kind of getting into his head. Now it's sort of hard to face like certain like goats, but the Raiders, they were able to get on his nerves a little bit. Like you could tell like Mahomes and Crosby when they were going at it, like Crosby was just always calling it like too little every time he shouldered him because it's like they're trying to get into his head. So I would tell people pay attention to the Raiders, definitely the Bengals, definitely the Niners. Now, I don't want to say this as a troll. You think on paper the Cowboys could always match up with any team, but it's because due to the sole fact of like discipline and like the infrastructure of what's going on and Jerry Jones' ego getting in the way, I think that's what holds him back the most.
Yeah,
I'm just judging off paper, not in general. Off paper, because you got talented cats on that team.
Yeah.
And I fucking love Micah Parsons. Jesus Christ, like
he's a dog.
I love Micah Parsons. He was literally a Christmas gift. Like that was the first present you would unwrap. Like Micah Parsons, that was literally like the best thing that happened to us in recent memory.
I give you a little history right now. Talk about the Chiefs. My old man, he played college ball too, and when he was he went to try out and everything like that, he went to the Chiefs. He was in the training camp, all that stuff. Now, he didn't want to continue to play. He ended up being a teacher. He was successful and everything like that. But in my household, since I was a little kid, I always heard about Chiefs, Chiefs, Chiefs. I hated it. Like, dude, the Chiefs are terrible. Why are you cheering for them? They're going to be better than the Bears. I'm like, touche, I'll give you that. But still, why are you cheering for the Chiefs? The Chiefs ain't doing nothing. So, him right now, my dad is like on cloud 9 when it comes to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, the best thing to play the game. And I'm like, whatever, man. I'm tired of hearing you. I partially wanted the 49ers to win, but like I got a family group chat with my cousins and my uncles and my dad and my brother. And, my cousin was like, the 49ers going to beat them. And I told him, I said, I would agree with you, but I said, it's only one thing that's going to help them win. I said, it's that dude, number 15, dude. He different. And I think what helped flourish his game so much was sitting for that year and learning from Alex Smith, and seeing everything, because him coming out, I'm just going to be honest, nobody, like the radar for him, nobody.
Yeah,
you couldn't
no one had
predict
that expectation.
That.
Yeah, no.
The guy that was really the guy that was coming out was Deshaun Watson. That should have been the number one pick if you act, besides from Myles Garrett, and we traded up to 2. I'm like, hey, we're gonna get Deshaun Watson and
Mitchell fucking Trubisky.
Yeah, that's how I feel about that. I'm like, it's the same dude that played against him in college, and y'all want to go with this? I promised my mom I wouldn't say nothing bad on his, so I'm gonna keep my comments to myself.
No, it's tough. It's tough. The Chiefs, like, they're just that good. Like how you said, the only way they would lose is if they shoot themselves in the foot. But we've seen like little moments like Joe Burrow could get into a little duel with Patrick Mahomes, these other quarterbacks. So I would say Bengals for sure, and Niners are probably like definitely, if the Bengals stay healthy, of course. So Bengals and Niners are definitely the top 2. And I would say a little right behind them was the Bills. But I really thought the Bills could have won that game. Oh, yeah. Not only because I didn't like some of the Josh Allen criticism. He literally did everything that he could that game. He was running the football, and I sort of underestimate how good of a runner he is with the football. He is a tank. Someone reminds me of like Cam Newton in some aspect. Like he will run you over. Like he is a big dude. And not even just that, like little moments like when he had that like that bomb to Stephon Diggs, like right in his, oh my God, if he had just caught that.
But you know what? Like when you playing in playoffs, I played in playoff games in college too. And all those little things matter. So like it's not just about the game, but it's like how you practice too. So like in those moments, you got to make those plays, man. Like that's really like people criticize the Chiefs I was very critical of them because of the receivers. They let Juju Smith-Schuster walk away. Yeah. And I think he could have helped them a lot this year. But you had guys dropping the balls, and they, they want to go off like Kadarius Toney, and they let go of MVS, Van Scatling, I think his name is. But, like, dude, the ball in your hands, like, I can't throw it all the time to Travis Kelce. I know he's dependable, but, like, y'all got to step up. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna be some changes around there that, like, a lot of dudes that's in them pros and all of the inner circle and stuff, it's gonna make you step the game up. I think if they were able to do this one solid and get this one receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, if they could trade for him, he's saying he's not gonna leave Tennessee, but anything could happen. Anything could happen. I always said, I'm like, man, if you put Hop on that team, his hands are
ginormous, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, dude, put him on the team. You playing with Patrick Mahomes. Even Calvin Ridley, like, he's going to be a free agent. He might not go back to Jacksonville. So they got to pick a piece, and then they're going to draft a guy, I believe, in the second round, maybe at the end of the first. They got to get some things shored up on their O-line a little bit, but they ain't going nowhere for no time soon.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough to stop them. And now, before we get into the NFL draft, I definitely want to talk about, like, the Bears past season, and, like, it was definitely a heartbreaking. Now, we did have, like, the little, like, strong finish in the end, which was good to see. You want to see us compete and stuff. So, how do you feel about our past season? How important is this offseason in your eyes as a Bears fan, and all of our eyes? Because to me, this feels like this draft we cannot mess up. This offseason we cannot mess up. All the pressure is on Poles. And also it's like, I know, like, he wanted to give Eberflus a chance, like, one more chance. I'm not the biggest fan of Eberflus. And some people are like, we're getting on Poles for, like, the Eberflus season. But people forget, like, Eberflus was brought in before Poles guy even got hired.
Exactly.
So, like, that's not even Poles' guy. So Poles is, like, was fair enough. And that's what I respect about Poles. He likes to give people, like, certain chances. He's not going to, just throw you under the bus. I respect that about him. I like that character about him. So I do think it's fair. We'll give Eberflus one last shot. They did clear the offensive coordinator. They did clear out that staff, so he does have one more chance. How important is this offseason? Because we cannot mess it up.
Oh my God, this is like make or break, not only for the coach, but, like you said, Poles. And I'll say this: Poles is a guy where he's made a lot of improvements from the last guy that was here, who literally, like, it's like a brand new house. Or you get in a house, you strip everything out of it. That's what Ryan Pace did. When Ryan Pace got let go, it was bare bones in there. So Poles, like, even though it was some foundational pieces, we're talking Roquan Smith, we're talking what was the defensive end? The guy that had the all-time sacks. And even Khalil Mack. Yeah. I think Khalil got traded as Poles got there. Mm-hmm. And the people criticized me when I said this, but I was like, he had no choice but to trade him because he wasn't producing and he was getting hurt. Yeah. And you think about all of that, like, then you get, you win that game against New England, then they trade Roquan. You get rid of those pieces, but people also got to understand this. His first draft, he got 2 defensive starters in Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. So then you got to lay something. So, like, the first piece of what they were trying to do was get the defense in order. You got a defensive head coach. It's going to take time with anything you do. Nothing is overnight success, all right? If they would have fired Flus after that first year and say they would have got a DeMeco Ryans, I think it would be a different team, because he got Slowick, all those guys like that. The biggest thing that's going on right now, which I'm sick and tired of hearing it, is the Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields. And this has been going on since the beginning of the year. When they made that trade for DJ Moore, I was one of the people when the game he played against Atlanta his last year there, when he caught the touchdown, I was like, yo, that's the guy you got to get. Justin needs a receiver. You got Darnell Mooney, who I think the offensive coordinator really failed him. Yeah. And then you had Kmet, and then you had Montgomery. Like, you had those guys. So I think Montgomery would have came back had not if it been some changes, all that stuff like that. So then he goes to Detroit, and he's talking about, I'm with a real franchise. Like, dude, do you know who the Detroit Lions are? Like, do you really understand?
Yeah,
like,
they got nothing going on.
It's Detroit.
Yeah.
But Overall, this is probably the one. Like everything that Poles laid the foundation for, this is where he's got to like. This is his money, and then I think the biggest key nobody talks about is having that assistant GM back in Ian Cunningham. Mm-hmm. Having those two, which if I was the Bears, I would do any and everything to keep him. Like even if I got to put a co-GM and then get another assistant, I would keep him along with Poles because people don't talk about all this stuff. Like those guys intertwine and they mix. He's made some decisions that's been like, Claypool, no, I wouldn't have made that. I wouldn't have got him.
Bumpool, that's what he is.
Yeah, Deadpool, but more like that. But you think about it too. On the contrary, you had that trade, but we got starting right tackle. Guy's pretty good. Mm-hmm. He was good in college. Then you go from there to Tyreek Stevenson, and then you start looking at guys that are starters. Even like the defensive tackle that they got, Javon Dexter. He can be a piece that can develop. He reminds me of it was a big defensive guy. I can't think of his name, but he was like 6'8". He played for the Arizona Cardinals. And, he just played with the Falcons this past year. It doesn't matter. I know who I'm thinking about. Right. But he reminds me a little bit of him because of his size. I still think with that defense that they got, they need to get a guy who can create pressure. Playing inside and knowing what you can do. Like for me, I was a nose guard. I was in the middle of everything. Like I was playing a 3 technique too. When you can frustrate a center and a guard, and then you have that quarterback that's right there too.
Yeah.
They like, dude, block him. Block him. And it's those things like that. I think they're missing that piece. And then you look at the offense. I think Mooney, after he had that injury, that that first year Justin really truly started, kind of delayed this year. So like, there's a lot of things where Justin is his guy, but he was probably trying a little bit too hard.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs get him in free agency. Quote me on that. Like he would be a guy that he go there. He's better than the guys they got, I think. But
100%.
He just probably needs a new fresh start. But you got DJ Moore. Then after that, who else do you got? Like on that third down when Justin threw that ball to Tyler Scott, I'm like, why are you not running that route with DJ Moore or Cole Kmet? Or
Kmet had a much improved season.
Yeah, he was good the year before, but like you think about those guys, just like freaking Luke Getsy, like he makes me want to strangle him, man. Like,
he's
come on,
horrible.
dude.
Yeah, dude need to be drug tested after what he did, like for everything, for any drug you could think of.
Yeah.
So Justin Fields, like we look at his career record, he's 11-29. Mm-hmm. This past season, his completion percentage was 61.4%, threw for 2,562 yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, quarterback rate of 86.3. Mm-hmm. I think he had an okay season. I just don't like the scapegoating QB narrative that social media does, and that's why I love Keyshawn Johnson. I remember you and me talk about this, recently. Like, my worry is if we do get Caleb, I don't want the same thing. Because, look, I know a lot of us weren't the biggest fans of Mitch, but I don't think he was horrible. He had, like, those 1 or 2 good seasons with us. I think, like, he had a bit of a better offensive line. And it's sort of similar to Fields' situation now. I don't want us to keep recycling quarterbacks when we don't figure out the root problem, which is the protection. The quarterback can't play to their best potential unless they are protected. Yeah. And I think if Justin Fields had better protection, we could have maybe been a wild card team. Who knows? So that's why, like, we have to really solve the key issue, which is the protection. We got DJ Moore. Cole Kmet is getting better. Go to this draft. Whatever you do with the draft pick, I would prefer we keep Fields. Now, if we move on to Caleb, sure, I'd love to see it. But if we do move on to Caleb, please, whether it's in the draft or in the offseason, fix the offensive line. Because I don't want to see the same thing happen to Caleb, and then we're known as a franchise that just recycles quarterbacks and not figure out the key cost. Yeah. That's what I really want to see happen. I love Justin Fields. I think he's great. I think he has a promising future. I tell people, man, you put Justin Fields, like, instead of Zach Wilson on the freaking Jets, or even better, like, on the Steelers, Deontay Johnson, fire move at the tight end position, not Najee Harris, the running
Harris,
back.
yeah.
The Steelers got some good weapons under, Coach Mike. Like, oh my God, like that would have been amazing. Like if he was on the Steelers. So that's why I'm like, man, situations go such a long way. It's like it's one thing the NBA draft, like they draft you high and you get all the touches, you could look good, on a ship franchise. But in the NFL, specifically your quarterback position, whatever you're dealt with, and you have to find a way through that. So I really hope we keep Justin. If we do trade him, I hope he's in a better position. Either Atlanta or Pittsburgh, I think he would really thrive, or whichever franchise. But I think specifically Pittsburgh, Atlanta would be his best fit.
Yeah, I'm a Justin Fields supporter, and he got dealt a bad hand. It's like anything. With that guy, people criticized him. They said, hey, he was too slow in this, and he couldn't do this, and he couldn't do that.
Yeah,
and really what it came down to is the coaching.
Yeah.
Like I say anything. You can be a talented guy, you can do this, you can do that, but the coaching, and let's kill this narrative that he's too slow throwing the ball. Like there's a lot of good quarterbacks who hold on to the ball too long. We seen it with the best quarterback in the NFL today doing it in the Super Bowl. I feel like he's been dealt an unfair hand, and then you got people who they don't watch the Bears. They're not on their radar.
Yeah.
And I felt like he got criticized for that Minnesota game up there at the Dome and stuff, but when it was time to make a play, he made it. When it was time to make a play, even with that Washington game, he made it. He made plays in the Broncos game. He made plays in the Detroit. Like all the games he made plays in. So he's not short of making plays, and he's not short of talent. Sometimes it's a total team thing. And I always say this, like the respect of your peers go a long way. Mm-hmm. And one other podcast I watched with the guys from Indianapolis Colts, they talked about it like, I don't know why they're having a conversation about getting Caleb Williams over Justin Fields. Like, remember, they did a training camp against the Bears. So they seen this guy and they know what he looks like. When you see something and you'll know, like, hey, that's a good dude. Like, you don't want to get rid of him. And I feel like with Fields, if we let him walk, like my dad taught me this a long time ago. He was like, anybody that starts their career in Chicago and they go somewhere else, never not a doubt, they always flourish. Always. And we're talking about franchises, Cubs, Sox, Bulls, whatever you may be, Bears. And, do I think it's right that they should do it? No. I think the real generational talent of the draft is Marvin Harrison Jr. Mm-hmm. And if I'm the Bears, you look at the totality of everything. Like if it comes down to this, if Shane Waldron says, hey, I would rather work with him because he has this, that, and the third, it's just little mechanical things that he needs to fix, that this moron that he had. And then you think about it, the receiver coach that they had too, like the receivers, it was only one receiver that really knew how to get open. That was the guy. Mm-hmm. And he's begging for him to stay. Like even with Josh Allen had Diggs that first year and they flourished. And, it's a trend that's going on. Like even with Jalen Hurts, he had A.J. Brown. They flourished. And I just think it's been dealt a bad hand because of what's going on. And then you got this guy that everybody is on him. Everybody says, you got to go with him. You'll be stupid. Now, I do agree with that. Like, okay, yeah, they passed up on Patrick Mahomes. They passed up on Deshaun Watson. They passed up on those guys. You picked Mitch Trubisky, and then like last year's draft, I don't feel like it was a problem not taking C.J. Stroud because C.J. had his own questions coming out, but you knew he would be pretty decent.
Yeah.
So you have to go with that. And like Bryce Young, I feel like he's a little bit too small, not just like because of height, but like his weight. Mm-hmm. And you got 300-pound dudes landing on top of a 185, 190-pound guy. Eventually, them hits gonna add up, So
yeah.
And if you're not built if he was built like Russell Wilson, then I'm like, okay, well, he could do a little bit of something. Yeah. So I honestly, wholeheartedly would want them to keep Fields. I don't know if they're gonna have the balls to really pull it off and like say, F what you say, I'm gonna keep this guy. I trust in him. And I wholeheartedly think Poles, because Poles mentioned something, he said, I'm gonna do right by Justin. So, you got people that they hear something, they go with it. But sometimes when you say we're gonna do right by a person, doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna get traded.
No, yeah.
You know, so it could be like you seen now they're trying to do the subliminals with Justin in the video where he jumped in the air and everything like that, and his best friend was recording him, and it's like we don't know what he was. He probably was literally just having a good time, and his friend recorded him. But it could be like, hey, we're gonna play this to our like poker. We're gonna play it to our hand. We're gonna finesse this team, and I'm guaranteeing you, like I wouldn't be shocked. One, he got traded, and then I wouldn't be shocked if the Bears got 3 first-round picks, both the second-round picks of this year, and then get like Deron Payne. That's the part that they're missing with their defense is that 3 technique who can Tommy Harris, you know, Aaron Donald, that type of guy, and I love Aaron Donald. A guy that's just a force who can disrupt everything.
Absolutely.
And you know, in the free agency portion, I'll go out to Gabe Davis. I like the way his game is. You may go out to vet center, and you know those things like that. And they may need to do it, but like my dad was talking with me, he was like, if the Bears were smart, they would really build their O-line through the draft like they did with the one piece they got last year, and just keep building on it. So it's a lot of good tackles that's coming out. It's a lot of pass rushes that's coming out. So like you got a chance to really focal point. Then if their defense too, they need a free safety that can really go get the ball.
I agree. Everything that you said, like I literally even have like something similar in my notes as well. Like all those similar offseason moves, get Marvin Harrison Jr., you know, get someone for the offensive tackle to, you know, protect him. And that's why I was in one of the last subjects of the episode. Sleepers of the draft, NFL draft combine, who to look at. I definitely want to hear your sleepers, your 3 to 5 sleepers, who to look out for. And maybe, you know, the Bears could sneak up and get him. Yeah. Maybe another NFL team you would suggest to go after him, and then you would wrap it up from there. So give me some of your sleepers for this draft we saw from the combine. Yeah.
Okay. The one guy that I watched him play at Wisconsin. I think he's a hoss. And Wisconsin's known for having running backs, but I think he's going to be better than those guys that came into the NFL. Braylon Allen.
Yeah.
Guys built like Tarzan, but he don't play like Jane. And he's a guy where like we have running backs, right? But something is missing with those guys. Like one guy's physical, and you got one guy that can tote the rock a little bit, catch the ball a little bit better. He can do both.
Hybrid, yeah.
Oh yeah. So like with him, I think he can come in. If I was the Bears and he dropped to say like the 3rd round, and you know he's available, I'll go get him. He could be that workhorse. His game, to me, he's like a bigger Matt Forte. And Forte wasn't a small guy. I seen him in person. The guy's like 6'2" and about 225, yoked in his playing day. So like I would go after him. If we're talking, they need a receiver. I actually think they need 2 receivers, like a younger guy. Right. They want to get a free agent, do that, what they need to do with that. There's a kid at Western Kentucky, Malachi Corley. He reminds me of Debo, and a mix of like DJ Moore too. Like
one of my sleepers reminds me of Debo too. It's a different guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a physical guy, 5'11", 215. I just know the stuff because I watched the draft and everything like that. So like he's one that's like he know how to catch the ball. And like even with Khalil Mack went to the University of Buffalo. Nobody expected him to.
Yeah.
When he first got there, but then he kept growing and growing. And it's not about the guys that you see in the first round and everything like that, but it's those other guys that really make your team. Because first round guys.
You could bet on.
Yeah. They bust, but like those Puka Nacua. Who knew Puka would tear the scene off the frame when he went to St. Louis? I mean, not St. Louis, but Los Angeles. Excuse me. Yeah. And, you know, they have Cooper Kupp, but Cooper Kupp needed another guy.
Yeah.
And he fits in perfectly with him. So, you know, we just need a piece that's going to help DJ out, help DJ get open, and then, you know, don't have to rely so much on him catching the ball. Then we look at linemen, my favorite position. I know the O-line is going on today, but I've looked at, you know, the team that had a lot of good guys this past year. I feel like they probably had the best O-line was Washington. Michael Penix. And, you know, Trey Fontenot. Big, small guy, 6'4", 320, but like all them guys look the same. They were built the same.
You will be top 10 for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be top 10, but I know he's gonna be in somewhere. You know,
top 20 range.
Oh yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
for sure.
Top 20, yeah,
for sure. So then you also got like Jackson Powers Johnson, who everybody's talking about. He will be a focal point. There's a guy that's at West Virginia, Zach Frazier, who will drop. And then it's another guy from Kansas State named Cooper Beebe. But like one guy, I wouldn't put it past. That's in the draft. He went to the University of Michigan, my favorite team in college. Zach Zinter, the guard that got hurt in the Ohio State game. He was a hoss, and he was a guard. And if you think about it, the weakest point of the Bears is not the right tackle, but I think everybody else from the right guard to the left tackle. Those are the pieces like you can get. I think they got 6 draft picks right now. And whatever they decide to do, if they trade Justin or if they go after what they need to go after, they can go from 6 to 8 picks. So if they can help emphasize this, that'll be great for them. I think they can go after another tight end who could be pretty good in the draft. And also free safety. So you got Cam Kitchens. You got Jaden Hicks from Cam Kitchens is from Miami. Jaden Hicks is from Washington State. The kid from Minnesota, Tyler Nubin, is pretty good too. He's from here. A lot of people don't know that. So he wouldn't mind coming back home. So it's a lot of gap. Like this draft right
it's
here.
Loaded.
Yeah. So you know, it's a lot of pieces that's
I'll be
like
paying close attention the entire draft. Oh my God.
Yep, especially that first day. I'm ready to see what happens with all of this going on, and I think they're going to probably go with Caleb because the thing with the Caleb situation is this. He made a comment the other day, and if you think about it, Justin played at Ohio. He went to Georgia first, and he went to Ohio State. He said, they asked him, "What'd you say to the Bears about drafting you? Do you want to win?" I'm like, my guy. Let's be honest. You didn't win a national championship. You won a Heisman. That's an individual award.
That's it.
You were good in high school, no doubt. You was a dog. I watched your highlight films and everything like that. But like when it came like against playing against those big teams in college,
fell short
every time. They played against Washington. He played good. Like he played good games, but it was like you fell short. So, like, when he was at Oklahoma, he took Spencer Rattler, who's coming out too. He took his spot, but then they fell short at Oklahoma. Then he went to USC. They lost to Utah. Then you lose to Tulane. Like, come on, dog. Like,
you can't
lose it. Like,
what the fuck? Yeah.
Like, Tulane they got a couple players, but, like, really? Come on now. And
that was the first time I heard that school until that game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you look at this past year, I think even through it all, their O-line wasn't the best, and he made a lot of ish out of Shinola, and he was able to do some things, but it just wasn't like, it's nothing that
out the water.
Yeah. But I will say this, his arm talent to me is better than Justin's.
Oh yeah, his arm talent is very gifted.
Very, very accurate. Justin is accurate too to a fault, but everything, all the other traits, like Caleb is 6'1", Justin 6'3". Caleb's 220, Justin is 230. So, like, it's apples to oranges. The only thing is, if Justin had Caleb's pinpoint accuracy, that's kind of resembles Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, we would not be talking about getting a quarterback. We would be so it's those little things like that. And Caleb knows how to fire that ball out of his hand, and he can run a little bit too, but I'm just not trying to give up Justin Fields. That's just me.
Me neither. Corley is definitely a sleeper I had on my list. Troy Fontenot, he's not necessarily a sleeper, but that's someone we should definitely look out for in the draft that could really change any team. For me, my draft sleepers are more like the second, third round, like some of those gems, and maybe even later in the other rounds. One of them I actually have from South Carolina, Xavier Legette.
Ooh.
Built like Debo. His previous season, 71 reception, 1,255 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. One of the season record holders in South Carolina. He can also run the ball pretty well. So I really like Xavier Legette. It would be interesting to see where he lands.
He
Ray Davis from Kentucky.
Oh yeah, running back, right?
Running back from Kentucky, 109 carries, 1,129 rushing yards, 14 rushing touchdowns. Also had 323 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns, so you could also get him to throw him the ball. And I don't think he gets too much love compared to like Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Khalib. Michael Penix Jr., I think it's because of the injuries that he had.
Yeah.
I think he'll definitely land somewhere in the draft. Like maybe not in the top 10, but he should be somewhere in the first round. Because I think some injuries, it kind of hurt his stock a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think he's a very good quarterback. It would be very interesting to see where he goes. And of course, I know you and me talked about Malik Neighbors, the receiver. I would love the Bears to get him. I would absolutely love it.
If say we switch that number 1 and say we drop to like 8 with Atlanta or whatever team there is, and we just don't go after Marvin Harrison, that guy right there would be perfect. He's 6 feet, 200 pounds. Marvin Harrison got the award, but like if you look at the stats and like the conference that he played in, it's the SEC. He's putting up them numbers with Jaden Daniels, who might go number 2 if Washington can't get Caleb Williams. But I'm banking on Washington to get Caleb Williams. That's just me. But
they need a quarterback.
Oh yeah, for sure. Sam Howell wasn't a bad quarterback. It's just
he's just 30 for 30. Yeah.
Like, so go back to Xavier Leggett. He reminds me of DK. It's like the build and the size.
More of the broad. Yeah.
Yeah. So like he's fast like him too. I wouldn't be shocked if he snuck into the first round. There's another guy that Malik Neighbors played with, Brian Thomas Jr. Big dude, 6'4", 210, and I could see him being in a second round pick. So, man, this draft right here, the Bears, if they can do what they need to do this past year, they'll go to the playoffs. And I told people last year, I'm hoping, man. Like, I want to see us win. I want to see a city win, you know?
Yeah.
I told people last year, and they was like, what you think the Bears going to do? You know football, what they going to do? I was like, they're a year away. What? They're a year away? I'm like, yeah, the O-line isn't what it should be. The defense is
kind of the blueprint.
Yeah, they definitely got the blueprint, but they have to learn to win. So, like, they learned how to win with certain pieces, and it's like, the thing is, Eberflus, I give him this credit. He had those boys playing hard
in the end of the season.
The whole season, even when it was bad.
Yeah.
I think the only game they really didn't play up to that standard of anything else is when they played the Chiefs. Yeah. You know, the whole Taylor Swift.
Yeah, what can you do, bro?
Nothing at all. So they played hard for him. They trust this guy. The input, like when you got your best players coming out saying, I rock with him, Sweat and Jalen Johnson, he hears our input on this. And, you know, the biggest thing for them was getting those 2 linebackers too with Tremaine Edmonds and Edwards. TJ Edwards was so underrated. And then for the amount of money that you paid him, you know, that's what you have to do. And I think that's the same approach they're going to take this year, especially going into free agency. I don't know if I'm going to pay Daniil Hunter that money. Jalen Johnson's going to get paid. So we might hear tomorrow he got his contract. But then you think about they need a defensive end. So, like, the biggest thing is, are we going to draft one and let them develop? You can still draft one, or are we going to pay for one? You got Brian Burns out there, who I think is an absolute stud. You got Daniil Hunter. But the thing that bothers me is like his age, but he's only 30 years old, so you got to get that solidified, and then, you know, you got to shore up your offensive line. So,
agree. And another team I would say to look out for in the draft that's probably near as important with the Bears and Commanders, considering that Aaron Rodgers is coming back. The Jets at the 10th pick. If I were the Jets, Brock Bowers at tight end, throw him into the offense. You got another weapon for Aaron Rodgers to throw to. I think that'd be a great pickup through the draft for the Jets, because I think defense is covered. Your receivers are covered. Offensive line is pretty solid. All you need, I just need a little upgrade at the tight end position. And Brock Bowers, he could definitely enter that generation with these amazing tight ends of Kelsey's, the Kittles of the world, you know? I really think Brock Bowers would be a great pickup for the Jets.
He would be, but I have a rebuttal behind that. Their O-line is what they need to fix. So I think if, like for me, I want the Bears to get Marvin at 2, and then we get like Joe Alt at 10, or if we drop back, we get that guy from Washington or Jackson Powers Johnson, however we could do it.
Yeah.
But I think the Jets need to get that left tackle solidified, get that together first. I think Bowers, he would be really good with the Chargers. That would be that right
Herbert,
there. Yeah. But I think they're probably gonna. That's where Joe Alt may end up. That's where Olu may end up. We don't know yet, but they might go for the tackle or they might go for Bowers. It's just all about what fits do you need and what's going to help your team. So
Agreed.
Bowers, he ain't getting. I don't think he's gonna get out of the top 10. If he does, I'll be shocked.
Oh no, for sure. And to wrap the episode up, because that was a great NFL football discussion. Well, I just wanted to throw in one last a little fun would you rather question.
Let's go.
As a Chicago sports fan, would you rather see the Bears win a Super Bowl first or the Bulls win an NBA title first in these next few years?
Oh, Bears. The Bulls won when I was born. That's when the Bulls started winning. So it's a lot with them that's got to change. You got two good pieces in Io and Kobe, and then you got DeMar.
Kobe has to win Most Improved.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that guy has flourished. So those two young fellas are gonna be good. They just gotta get their big men together. You got Pat Williams. Then you also think about it too. You still got Lonzo Ball. I hope he comes back.
I hope he doesn't retire. That'd be so sad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He'll be a retired millionaire. Something we can't say.
Yeah.
All
right. My goodness. Yeah.
The Bears win it. Like, dude, if the Bears win a Super Bowl here,
that'd be bigger than the Cubs with the World Series.
You know what? I don't have a rebuttal behind that, but yeah, that would be something. That's something. Like, they should have won in 2007, but we went up against Peyton Manning. I think this city is ready to see we've seen the Sox, we've seen the Cubs, Blackhawks, Bulls. It's time for the Bears to go ahead and take claim, and let's get this going.
Absolutely. I agree, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that was an amazing episode. Thank you, Mr. Key, for once again coming on. I hope you guys learned a lot from our perspectives, especially from his, with the city of Chicago, the education system, and NFL football. Follow him on Instagram.
No.
No. We're going to leave that out.
We're going to leave that very private.
Very private, but definitely show love in the comment section below. Subscribe. Thank you, Mr. Keefe, once again coming on, dropping your wisdom and dropping your knowledge of football. We hope the Bears do good again. We're not gonna talk about the Cowboys. Fuck them. I can't deal with it anymore. What can go wrong will go wrong.
I'll say this: Cowboys. It's not all Dak's fault.
It is not.
He is not Dak Ascot. He's like the guy they call him and stuff. Yeah. But I think it's more so Jerry Jones.
He's got to go. Great businessman, but not a great football dude. Because it's crazy that we're the number one, most valuable sports team in the world, and yet we suck. Like it just makes you scratch your head. Like
I wouldn't even necessarily say they suck. It's just
it's
a little bit of bad luck. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, they gotta switch it. It's so bad. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Mr. Key. Thank you once again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Have a good one.